Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're having some people still joining in, so we'll just give some minutes and feel free to turn on the cameras, introduce yourself in the chat if you want. And it's great to see that we have here all our speakers already. So welcome also. We'll just give some more minutes until everyone joins in because we had actually a lot of people signing up, which is super exciting. And I hope you are also excited for this webinar, this get together of career skills that we've been developing. Me and I, Hayat, as we are part of the steering committee of the IWA Young Water Professionals in the career building role. And this is one of the webinars that we've been developing for the past 2 years. And this one is one that I think all the young water professionals struggle a bit, the bridge and the gap between the academia and the industry, and how we can close this gap. So welcome everyone, and feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and turn on the cameras if you want. It's always nice seeing some people and not just talking to the screen. So I think we'll just give you some 2 more minutes and then we can start. But hi to the people that are now joining in. Welcome to the webinar, the Get Together from the Young Water Professionals, the Career Skills Developing. Great to see already some new faces and some older faces, let's say it, that I've been seeing part of the group for quite some time. So that's great. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. As I already said it in the beginning, just your background, where are you based right now? Which chapter do you belong to, for example? And then I think we can start. Welcome, everyone, for the ones that just jumping now in the call. My name is Francisca Braga, and I'm together with Hayat, part of the Young Water Professionals Steering Committee in the career building role. And today we are doing a webinar in terms of career skills developing, trying to bridge the gap between the academia and then the industry. This was a highly request from a lot of the young water professionals to try to understand how this gap can be more closed. So this is super exciting of doing these career skills. We've been doing some of these webinars regarding networking, for example, abstract writing, and so on. So I hope also that you will see a value in it and you'll have a great questions for our speakers so that we can actually have some fun value from this webinar. Isabella, can we move to the next slide, please? So, thank you. It's great that I'm seeing also some people introducing themselves in the chat. Feel free to do that. And as I told you, I'm Francisca. I'm based in Denmark, and Hayat is based in Canada, and we are part of the steering committee within the career building role for the past 2 years. And today will be our moderators with a closing session and then the opening, and then also for the Q&A within our speakers and the panel discussion. The next slide, please, Isabella. So before we jump in actually in the webinar, there is something that probably will be seeing a lot on LinkedIn. And I will remind you one more time that there is steering committee elections for the young water professionals within IWA. The deadline is on 12th of June, so next week. And it's super important that you will vote because this is the voice of the young water professionals within IWA. So if you didn't vote it already, you have their information on the website where you can see actually the recordings also for the share position, for example, and then what different people are up for within the roles that they want to be part of it. This is quite important. So I will remind you one more time please vote, because we are the voice of all the rest of the young water professionals. And it's been a great experience being part of the steering committee. So, and if you want more information, you can always contact Isabella. She's here also in the call, but then she'll be happy to answer all your questions. Next slide, please, Isabella. So before we jump in, actually in the panel discussion with our speakers, I will just have a bit of like housekeeping rules. I don't know if some of you, it's the first time that you are in these webinars or not, but probably some of them you are already familiar when we talked about housekeeping rules within a call like this. Next slide, please, Isabella. So the main ones is just, yeah, as I'm telling you, introduce yourself. Feel free to use the chat to ask questions. We'll have time a lot for the questions. If you want, also turn on your camera. Stay engaged. Sometimes it's a bit hard when it's a webinar, but really try to stay engaged and be transparent and be honest with yourself and of course also with others. And don't forget to treat everyone fairly and equally within this call and of course in the overall world. And feel free to speak up and give your opinion also, but respect always the people in the call and their backgrounds, because sometimes could be different than yours. Next slide, please, Isabella. So for you to get a bit understanding how this will work out in terms of the panel discussion, we will have some questions for the speakers that we prepared beforehand, and then we'll have a Q&A session that is open to all of you. So feel free to introduce already some of the questions in the chat that we'll be seeing along the way. And once again, feel free also to introduce yourselves in the chat, so then we can see from where you are based and so on. And if you want, also share your LinkedIn and so on, so then people can connect with each other after this webinar. And then if all of you are muted, but if you want, then in the Q&A session, if you want, you can raise your hand and then you can unmute yourself as well to ask a question to the speakers if you want. If not, if you prefer, you can just ask in the chat and we'll try to answer or then give it for homework to the speakers afterwards to be able to answer all of your questions. Next slide, please, Isabella. So what we aim to achieve with this event, as I told you, it's a highly requested event from the young water professionals, is trying to recognize the not just cultural structure, but also the practical differences between academia and then industry in the water sector, reflect on opportunities and common challenges when we are working across different settings, and identify practical ways to engage, communicate, and collaborate within just the water sector, but also across other sectors that are quite important, having a nexus between water and other like energy, food, and other sectors. And also gain insight because our three speakers are all women living in different places in the world, but they have different experiences and how this experience can help us to navigate our career paths and partnerships between academia and then the industry, and also how their background helped them shape super successful careers that they are having right now. Next slide, please. So the event is recorded right now, so then don't feel the need to be like sharing screens or anything. We have everything here, and then of course the speakers are responsible for their opinions and their conclusions and recommendations. And there is some people still joining in. So no worries if you want to see the webinar afterwards. The event is recorded. Next slide, please. So the agenda for today is like this: welcome and introduction also of the speakers that I will do afterwards. Then we'll have the panel discussion where we kind of like divided into 4 different subgroups. And each one of the subgroups will be around 15 minutes. So it will be first trying to understanding this gap between academia and then industry, then the collaboration and knowledge transfer, then the gender perspective, as I mentioned before, and then the inclusion in the water sector, and then wrapping up with some advices and road it ahead as next steps that our speakers would like to give us for early career young water professionals. And then we'll open up around 20 minutes for like an interactive Q&A session and a discussion within all of us. Right now we are around 25 people, so it's not a lot of people, so we can also have an interesting discussion within everyone. And then we'll just close with some remarks, some main key messages, and then future events that you could also be interested in attending. So without further ado, let's move on to the next slide so I can present the great three speakers that I'm super, super happy to present them. First, we have Ines Breda, that's based right now in Denmark. Then we have it Yumeng Zhao, that she's based in China. And then Beatrice Cantoni, that she's based in Italy. All of these great women, they are part of my life and my career as a young water professional. So I'm super happy to have this panel discussion with them. And I will ask, maybe we can start with Ines to just present yourself, share a bit your background and how you started in the water sector.
I started in the water sector by accident. Hi, everyone. My name is Ines Breda. I am manager of global partnerships for Grundfos, which is a pump manufacturing company, the largest in the world, have about 20,000 employees, and we are spread across over 40 countries. Very shortly, I'm a civil engineer who was not able to find a job as a civil engineer, who then decided to accept a job as a researcher in water, who then accepted to do a PhD in water, who then started to do product development and ended up in a company that I'm super proud of, but that connects deeply with my purpose, and somehow that brings all this strange picture that I just shared to make sense. But I'll share that along the conversation today, and I'll give space to the rest of the speakers.
Yumeng or Beatrice, would you want to jump in to just introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Francisca, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I am Yumeng Zhao from Harbin Institute of Technology in China, and I'm currently a professor. I just got promoted to professor 2 months ago, and my research area is, thank you, Francisca. My research area is decentralized water treatment technologies and also the intelligent urban water infrastructure, because right now AI is a really hot topic and a hot trend now. So we are also moving towards that research direction as well. And I'm really happy to be here and to be able to share some of my experiences to you all. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. And now we move on to Italy. Beatrice.
Thank you, Francisca, and good afternoon, good morning, depending on wherever you are in the world, to everyone. And thank you for inviting me with these two great women that inspire me already when I met them multiple times. I am Beatrice Cantoni. I am a junior assistant professor, still waiting to be promoted, happy for you, at Politecnico di Milano. I am an environmental engineer by training. I've been working on water issues since my master thesis, then PhD postdocs in different countries in Europe and North America. I've always been into academia, but I think that I can bring something to the discussion here because, for example, my PhD was funded by water utility in Italy, and we have several research projects that are funded by industry and companies, and where like European projects where we are partners together with other companies and utilities. So I think I can bring this into the discussion today.
Perfect. Thank you so much to the three of you. And I can see already some people in the chat saying that they will see Beatrice next week for the European conference. She's also the chair of the Italian chapter. So that's great. Just to start up a bit, and we can just take turns in answering these questions from the three of you. What originally attracted you to be part of the water sector? Ines mentioned a bit by accident, but I would like to maybe Yumeng, how it was with you.
To be honest, also by accident, but after 4 years of bachelor study, I chose to stay in this major for my PhD program because I think I really like the sustainability, like developing sustainability, whether in water area or the urban water infrastructure. I like the idea of doing it's kind of like a voluntary job, at least in China, because the water price is actually quite low. So it's kind of like a voluntary scientific work for us to promote the water treatment technologies and also to promote the water safety in China. So I like the idea and I like what I do right now. So I stay in this area. Even after a PhD program, I prefer to stay in academia and try to help to promote the water treatment technologies.
That's super great. And it's always a good accident then. And Beatrice, how it was with you?
In my case, it was not really an accident, but I always ask myself why Italy is the second country in the world consuming plastic bottled waters. I found it quite interesting, and I thought, okay, maybe it's because of the trust of people for the public tap water. How can I help? And I found doing research again with the practical answers to the water utilities, the right way to sort of have a change. So make sure that the tap water is trustable and make sure that people know it. So this was really inspirational for me.
And that's great that with 20 minutes of the webinar, I already learned. I didn't know that Italy was the second country in terms of like plastic bottles. So that's actually
yes, it's
quite.
Thailand is first, and Mexico is the third, and Italy is the second. Yeah, interesting.
Do you like to add something, Ines?
Well, I thought it was Pellegrino because of the brand of water that was so strong. That's why you went for bottles. I also didn't know it was a second. No, I think that what I wanted to add is that this speaks a lot with the fact that we as young people do not see water as a sector, as an opportunity, as a career path. So it speaks to that. The reality, I say it was accident. The reality is that I had a really nice teacher, ultimately, who was passionate about the topic. And so when it came to a point where I couldn't find a job, I thought about that teacher, and then he gave me an opportunity in his field. And that's ultimately what happened. But it speaks a lot to how we could try to make the sector more visible.
That's a really great insight, and I think it's always a lot on different agendas to try to promote the water sector and have more young people joining the water sector. Can we just move on the slides? I know that they have great 3 profile pictures, but maybe we can, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Isabella. And I think maybe we can just move on also to the other slides. Okay, then we'll just keep with exactly the panel discussion, so then it's easier. And then I would just like to ask you as also a bit of follow up on what attracted you to the current sector. What surprised you the most now that you have already some experience in the water sector? If there is anything that it will like speak to your mind, it could be good or bad, but that surprised you in the sector that you were not maybe thinking about it. Maybe, I don't know, you, Menk, if you like to go first, or if one of the others had already something in mind and would like also to start, feel free to share, as this is a bit more informal conversation. So
I think I'll go first, Francisca. For me, during my PhD program, what I learned is quite traditional. I think it's about like membrane filtration technology, although it's still like quite new comparing to like traditional coagulation or disinfection process, but still membrane technology is still kind of, to me, is kind of years ago. Right now, artificial intelligence and large language models, I think they are like developing in a very fast and rapid speed. And to me, I think this new topic, this new artificial intelligence technology is kind of like sweeping in our research area in an unprecedented speed. And I think that surprises me a lot because it changes the speed and it changes the paradigm of research, I think. At least for now, I think it is exactly what it is doing right now. And I think for us as young water professionals, we need to keep up with the pace to learn new things and to be able to use this tool very like flexibly, to be able to let it to help promote and advance our whether research area or our engineering work, so that it would be a great help to our career. So I think that's a very like great shock to me in the past 2 years.
that's great.
I think it's a great shock.
I was going to say that as well. I think it's in a good way. Beatrice?
Yes, I think that what surprised me most was interdisciplinarity. I was thinking, okay, the topic of my PhD is treating PFAS from drinking water. Okay, I will look at the technology and learn everything about that in a very deep way, but only looking at that. Instead, I ended up working with toxicologists, experts in different technologies, but also expert in modeling, AI application, as Yumen was mentioning, data analysis, in a very, very interdisciplinary way. And this is actually what I love about my job, that I'm able to talk with very different people, and it's always interesting. I keep learning every day something new, and I find myself ignorant every day, but in a great way.
In a good way, exactly.
Yes.
Ines, you were like super like I don't know, writing something. I could see it
Yeah,
from the
really.
camera. So
No, I'm really, so as part of being maybe one of the eldest here, I'm just really trying to be very concise to give space to others. It's part of new journey as being post YWP. So I think that the first thing was that there are amazing people in the sector. I think one of the reasons why you find people that just entered by accident don't leave, it's because it's such an amazing environment, right? So that's one. I think what has been surprised me over the past years is realizing how political water is, which I was not expecting, globally as well, and how confused we have been in translating the value of water. So I did a reflection over the past 10 years on how we've been framing the world of water and the challenges. And back 10 years, we would say that water was a water access problem, so only from low to middle income countries, to then pass to water is actually a problem that can only be solved locally. So we cannot do anything about it because it can only be solved locally by local communities, to then being a systemic issue with floods and droughts, to then being a global issue. If you look at the Global Commission for the Economics of Water, showcasing that, if you break down a forest somewhere, you will maybe have a drought somewhere else, right? So actually the global aspect of the impact. And so it's just like in a span of 10 years, if you would have to give directions to people to act, it would be completely different. So, and at the same time that this happened, we have a very strong lobbying, because it's not by accident that suddenly AI is just like this, and that we are suddenly so open and fast at intaking all of these new things, when we have been for like 10 and 20 years not changing anything in our water treatment plants. So it's very fragile in a way, and susceptible of influence, not always at our reach. So just this, I think, the fact that it's political and a big scope of lobbying has been a big surprise.
And I really like that you also touch upon the value of water, that maybe we can also speak a bit more during the webinar. But now I would like to maybe steering in another direction to try to understand the gap between the academia and then industry. We have a bit more like, okay, Beatrice and you make more in the academia world, but with the practical insights, while Ineos is way more in the industry world. From your experience, what are the biggest differences between working in academia and then in this industry? Maybe Beatrice, if you want to start.
Yeah, I can go first on that. I think that maybe the main difference that I wouldn't see as only a negative thing, but also a positive one, I would say is timeline. We always look at the, I don't know, the next 10, 20 years, what could be the problem, how could we think to future solutions that currently are not already available. While maybe industry, they want something that is feasible and can work now, it can be implemented. I think that these 2 points of view are great to be matched. And when you can find a company that is actually looking forward and looking at what they will be asked to do in the future, that is where the collaboration can really go great and well.
The magic will happen.
Yeah, the magic will happen. And this is really what happened for me in the PhD. The water utility of the city of Milan decided to fund a PhD just to improve their system. And then I started my PhD November 2017. And in October 2017 in Europe, the new drinking water directive was proposed with a limit on these really unknown PFAS at that moment. Nobody knew what they were. And the company said, okay, maybe then in the future we should treat this PFAS or monitor, or is our system okay? And so there the magic happened, because for us it was really a new scientific question. And at the same time, we needed to study a technology that was activated carbon, that is a really well established technology that they already have in their plants, but to see if it could work for a very new or future issue. So I think that the differences in these two words can be really beneficial in trying to have realistic solutions, and try also to be, I think, more critical on the solutions that sometimes we think in the lab and are very original, but really hard to be implemented in a realistic and feasible way. And so to stay grounded and trying to find solutions that can really help solving a problem, maybe not a problem of today, maybe in the future, but really not only lab scale
Pilot
solutions just to have a new paper that will not really have an impact on anyone's life.
That's great. Ines, from your perspective of more industry side, do you agree with this or do you have other inputs?
I was trying to understand. I think this will be a debate.
That's good. That's
for
what
me
we
to
want.
understand, Beatrice, can you just clarify in one word what you meant was which one is faster and more agile for you?
I think industry is looking for something now. Yes, more driven by issues of today.
Yeah.
And while academia is trying to think in 30 years what could be the issue, because we need to be prepared. If there is no regulation, if we didn't have regulation on PFAS, the water utility wouldn't have worked on that. Unfortunately, I would say.
I think it's also cultural. I think that something happened over the past 50 years with, if you think about like where it was for the public. So it was as professors, it was in the municipality would bring respect. And then suddenly there has been a shift that what is important is for you to become like a CEO or like a very important person in the business area somehow. That connect to pride rather than working for your community locally, right? And so that created a shift of knowledge that made the industry being able to act faster and the public sector being deprived and dependent of consultancy companies to be able to take decisions. And so this created, of course, a huge conflict on what you can do to help and how much it costs. Right. So I actually I agree with you. Now, there's also one aspect, which is if the company is more local or global. So if you're planning to work for a private company, considering if the company, for example, is foundation owned, if it approaches several markets, or if it's only one country, that can help you understand the speed of each of the focus to act. Because if it's only national, then probably it's easier to have that speed. And if it's long term, the reality is that you will have access to a lot of foresight groups and teams who are looking to the next 50 years because they want the company to last. And so we already do those exercises. But at the same time, there's a change in trying to mobilize a whole elephant in the room. And that can, of course, tend to look like it's much slower. So I'll say like, so I agree with you. And I think there has been this shift of capacity that has been mobilized, that has advanced the velocity for the private sector and the dependence of the public sector to act.
That's really great that you also mentioned cultural, because that was also one of my follow-up questions. But maybe you, Meng, would you like to give your opinion from your experience? What is the biggest differences?
Yeah, thank you, Francisca. What I'm thinking is that for academia, we only care about research, actually. But for like industry, sometimes they care about the cost, sometimes they care about the policy, and sometimes they need to care about research and development. So what my mentor told me is that if you want to work closely and with industry, then you need to find an industry who wants to develop their research and development. So if they have a strong R&D if they have a really strong R&D sector, then this company would be suitable for you to collaborate with. So that's what I'm doing right now, to find companies or industries who are willing to develop their research sector. So I think that's the kind of a niche area where academia can work greatly with industry. And
Yeah,
also,
definitely.
yes. And also the other practical thing is to build effective communication with people from industry. Because for us researchers or professors from academia, we usually like to talk in a very deep and difficult to understand kind of a language, with all of those terminologies. But actually, to be able to communicate with people from industry, we need to speak in a more like frank way, to be able to speak in an easy way that people are able to understand. And I think that's a very important tip for people in academia who wants to work closely with industry. And I think if like researchers or professors can shift their minds, then maybe we can have a better collaboration with industry. So that's my point of view.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ines, do you like to add something?
It's just a small comment, because I think that it's important that we talk about the existence of KPIs who do not match each other. So, for example, for the private sector, we have different, you will have this pressure on what is called the bottom line, which is the revenue after then considering all the costs that you have. But if you think, so sales, but if you think about academia, we have been pushed and pushed, even through PhDs, to just publish and publish and publish, right? And we know that that does not represent the contribution that we can make to the applied research areas. And we have not found a mechanism yet to directly influence policies through our research, for example, or to or a measure in which we can equally, identify the impact that has been done across the globe. Because there's, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 60% of rejection over submissions for low to middle income countries. And that has to do with this, lack of practice in submission of articles, but also on the fact that the KPI is needed to be met. On that difference, that it can really create a gap, the fact that those are two completely different.
I also like that both of you also mentioned a bit the cultural, but then also the communication and how these different worlds communicate within themselves. And I think that's quite important, because I have one question here: that do you think these gaps are also like structure, or it's a bit like personal, depending on from which side people are, or you think it's a bit of a mix? I don't know who wants to go first. I can see Ines already like laughing and smiling a bit. So
Well, I'm smiling because I think that it's so important to find the right person in the organization, because it can be that, especially in big organizations, you can try on one side and you will hear a no, and then try from another person and you will hear a yes. And you communicate it in the same way, in a way. So yes, you need to adjust your communication if we want to merge. But the reality is that having the right person is really important, and sometimes it's not who we expected. Sometimes it's someone who is deeply connected to the value of research for impact to the world. So I would then say either very young people or people after their 60s, because then they are really reminded and reconnected with why they are in the sector, which is one of the few characteristics that can help bridging the gap.
yeah, because sometimes we tend to forget, maybe, I guess, once the experience starts building up on it. Do you agree, Yumeng and Beatrice?
Yes, I actually want to jump in on this that Ines just said, because I was really thinking on how it worked also for me, where being part of the Young Water Professional chapter of IWA in Italy really helped me to get to know so many different young water professionals, not only from academia, but also from industry. And I found this dialogue among different sectors maybe easier among water professionals. And so also when I am collaborating in projects where both we are partner with different industries, I always try to find the young water profession there to sort of speak the same language.
It's a bit like the safety net.
I don't want to say that
It's a bit the
sorry?
safety net, right, Beatrice?
Yeah, it's a safety net. Giving the value because sometimes when you are in these big rooms or bigger calls online with all these senior people from each partner, then being the young one of your affiliation, trying to jump in with an idea, being alone seems a bit stressful. While being part of the Young Water Professional Network and also with all the activities we are doing with the mentorship program, etc., really I learned my value as well, and I'm more keen to jump in. So I think it's a mix of who you find on the other side and some cultural sort of background as well.
Do you agree, Yu Meng? Also, you're coming from a different side of the world. That could also be interesting to share your perspective.
Yeah, but I guess the feelings are all mutual. I definitely agree with what Ines and Beatrice said. It's all the same. It's all about people, I guess. In the end, it's all about whether it's doing collaborative research works or doing collaborative engineering project. It's all about communicating with the right person, and then you can work together closely with each other if you can build trust with your partner. So I guess it's all about the person that you meet. But sometimes you don't get to control who you gotta meet.
Oh.
So, yeah.
But I think that that's a great key message already from in the beginning of the webinar for the end, the people that you meet and that will actually make the difference.
Yeah.
What do you think this, like now that we're also talking about people, and then this can move on a bit for a bit collaboration. What do you think it makes collaboration between academia and then industry actually working and be a positive experience for both sides? Do you want to start with
Yeah,
Meng?
well, I guess if we want to achieve like mutual benefit, well, then it's got to be like both of us can achieve our goal. So for us researchers, we need to have like the deliverables for us are publications or papers. So we need to have enough like good data from industry. And for industry, I think they need to like leverage the technologies that we provide to be able to promote their product or to make profit. So I guess for academia and industry, the way to achieve mutual like success is to find a way somehow that we can both publish good papers and at the same time making profit for industry. I'm sorry for being so blunt, but I guess I think those are the fundamental goals from academia and industry. And to be able to achieve that, it's about having the right persons from both sides to be able to work together, to be able to sit on the same desk and able to communicate. And sometimes it's been very difficult to communicate between academia and industry. Yeah.
I can even give my personal opinion, even if I'm the moderator. I did an industrial PhD, so it was quite like I was a bit in the middle ground, trying to have the stakeholders from the academia side and then the industry. And sometimes it can be actually quite hard for people to communicate and to agree within even just one project. So that's definitely a great point. Do you agree, Beatrice?
Yes, I totally agree on that. And I think that the best collaboration are those in which you trust each other and in which you see the value of the other partner. And I think that only collaborating with someone you can trust could be successful. And I say that because it happens a lot of time that we are collaborating with a company or a water utility. They are not so happy to make their data openly available. But again, for us as a researcher, this is sort of something we really want to have open science and open data. So we always have to find a balance there. But I think that there are several ways in which we were able in the past to achieve this. So making sure that we provide data maybe anonymized without saying what is the specific location where we had the monitoring, but just providing sort of the area or giving the costs, but not maybe the specific characteristics of the technology. Of course, it's a balance, and I think that it works only if each partner can trust the other that we will have in mind not only our goal and our benefits, but also the benefit of the whole partnership, and so the benefit of the other.
That's great.
I don't know,
Thank you.
Ines, your point
Ines,
of
maybe,
view.
yeah, from the industry side.
If I'm saying something,
No, you're not.
Okay.
I think no, it's just so I think it really depends on the maturity level of the research, and here being specific, the TRL level, because I think the impact of the compromises that need to happen between the two parts are different depending on the TRL level. So if we're talking about something that is very early stages, where the involvement of the company maybe is, for example, to validate or stop pursuing an idea, then it's just easier, right? Because then we are not worried about IPs and things like that. But if we get to a point where the TRL level is quite high, then the question becomes, okay, how do we balance a scenario in which the research that you did carried on to be a product, and what happens now, right? So who releases it? Can you actually write a research paper on it? What would be your commitment to actually say we will not publish for a year or something, so we can protect the IP first or something like that, right? So so transparency being the key word, and then the full understanding of really doing a session with just brainstorming scenarios of what the research possible outcomes will be, so that when they come, we have a tendency to a reaction that we expect from everyone. So we already know, oh, they will be maybe a bit hurt by this, or maybe they will be super thrilled about it, because it can also be that sometimes we are afraid of engaging because we think that that the industry will see it as a bad thing, but we're actually excited to see it, right? So it's just having this conversation and really dedicate a time to talk through scenarios could be really helpful for the long-term collaboration.
That's great. Thank you, Ines. And that will also lead us to maybe a follow-up question that I had, that a bit like how we've been talking about the collaborations, but actually in the practical way, how can we make more collaborations between the academia and then the industry? If there is any like step by step, or if it's a bit, once again, the people that we meet in both worlds that are like meeting halfway kind of to have a good collaborations, or if you have any more practical insights that you think we could have in terms of making it more collaborations, actually good collaborations, but more from this practical insights. I don't know, Ines, if you want to start.
I can just, Beatrice, I think I'll be short. I honestly think that these mechanisms need to be created at a national level. So you have like the European ones, like IT, water now coming out and things like that at a European level. But you need mechanisms nationally that drive people to want to meet in this space of collaboration. Then this could be more natural or less natural, more organic or not. And of course, it will work better if it's more organic. But in order to build the trust and kind of the practice then we need to create the space and the mechanisms for it to exist. I do think that there's an opening.
So sorry, Ines, but then which mechanism do you think it could
For example,
work?
For example, the attribution of funding when there is a mix between academia and private sector. It can also be that academia, defines that they want to seek X% of the projects through funding with private companies as an ambition, if that's what they want. But ultimately, I would say that this is state-driven, that needs to happen. I think that in Denmark we have the how is it called? You also innovationsfunding, for example, right? So it's something that is created, so financed by the ministry, and that so that means that the salary that we get as a PhD student is almost 50% covered, which of course helps.
Mechanisms, or do you agree even with Ines?
Well, yeah, we do have like platform or pathways to like give fundings to both professors from academia and also to industry. And sometimes, like for me right now, I'm currently receiving, well, I will receive this funding in 2 months from a company, from industry. And it's all because of like we have this policy from our school, from our university, to be able to receive funding from certain industry areas. So I think I agree with Ines. It's all about like policy. If we have a good policy, if we have a good mechanism to be able to like for academic researchers to be able to receive certain fundings from industry, then I guess this collaboration will get smoother and smoother in the future.
Yeah, and if I can add on this, I think that
always.
Yes, I think that in our case, also being funded as partners of, for example, European projects or also national ones, was the key to get to know each other, learn that we like to collaborate, that we are on the same page, we have similar expectations and way of working, and this helped a lot. And something I wanted also to add is that I found a lot of opportunities of networking in conferences. And of course, I think that companies that support conferences, that register one or multiple delegates at the conference are those companies that are really open to learn from academia, and there you can find really great companies and collaborators. So I really like those conferences in which it's not only research and academia, but there is a great merge between the two. And so
definitely.
I don't know if later you will have a slide on
I will.
Yes, I think that the European Young Water Professional Conference would be a great opportunity, because also from the presenters we already saw it's a great mix between academia, water utilities, companies, authorities. I think we will have a great 3 days of discussions, and I hope I will be happy if we find we will be the bridge really between academia and industry, thanks to this conference and several conferences.
And on a side note, you, Vincenzo, that are also here, you've been doing a great job creating this conference. So that's a really great, and I think you will be super successful in bridging a bit the gap also between the academia and then the industry. So that's amazing. And we've been talking a bit about like these two roles, but what role do you think like the universities and then the companies play in meeting each other halfway? that if they need each one of them to compromise some of their perspectives and expectations to actually have a good collaboration? Or what do you think? Maybe Beatrice, if you want to start, or Ines or Yumeng, jump in.
Yeah, I can start. I think I already talked about it before, but in general, I think that research and academia can provide some solutions that were maybe out of the box, and can also provide some more scientific method to prove solutions. But then we really need to add on the feasibility of this solution, and also the some aspects and knowledge that maybe an academician can also sometimes neglect a bit. For example, related to costs, as Yumeng was mentioning before, it's really hard to find data on technological solutions cost, both capex and opex. Of course, this is something that the company can provide and has a huge knowledge on. And so I think these are the main ingredients of the recipe we can bring together.
Do you agree, Ines? Do you have more ingredients for the recipe?
It's a really tough question, because I do think that when people try to get together, they already come with the purpose of making it work, right? Some shifts that can happen is that, one, I think in academia, and I've been there also with my industrial PhD. I mean, I remember coming to a point where things maybe would make sense not to be done by me. It would actually be another research group that would be better. But because of this seeking of the publication and the competition internally with the different research groups would not allow me to just pass it on to someone else. So I think there's some work to be done there. And I think it links to this connection of credibility and reliability outside of the space of number of publications in the competition towards every research group. So that's one thing that I think academia needs to kind of clear. On the private sector, that we need to be more on what assessment on what is it that we are willing to offer to the different TRL levels. Because it can be that at some point what we can best offer is data. It can be that what we offer is mentorship. Imagine that it's something that you need more advice on, rather than us taking a huge role out of the research. So I think so we shouldn't do it just to be there, right? So there's something about taking responsibility of the level of engagement that needs to happen from the private sector, that I don't think it happens right now.
I know. I think that's a good word, transparency. Also, it will work for always from both sides. Do you agree, Yumeng? Would you like to add something else?
Yeah, I just want to add one point, because in China, for universities, some of the universities have a sector called like incubator. So basically, the university will provide a seed fund to researchers to be able to collaborate with industries, because sometimes at the beginning, industry wouldn't like to give their money first. But as universities, because we have this incubator sector, the university are able to give out some of the seed fund to be able to make it work between academia, between researchers and this specific company. So I think that's a kind of like a good mechanism to help promote the collaboration between both sides.
Francisca, let me just add something.
Yeah.
It's just because it's about sometimes misconception. Because, for example, I know that some companies might choose to work more, some private companies might choose to work to invest in research in a way that they are more distant. For example, we will pay so that the researchers can lead and give them more freedom. And maybe we will just advise on thematic areas that make sense right now to invest on. But we will take our distance. But that doesn't mean that the company is not investing in research. So, but their name is not appearing, and so there are some companies who are afraid of being in that position. And I'm saying this specifically because, for example, Grundfos, we have a lot of research and development internally, but we also do a lot of investment of research outside of our walls, and we don't get recognition for that one, and we don't want it, right? But that doesn't mean that the private sector is not investing that capital into the research space. And yeah, and I think that has made us kind of keep within the walls the research that we want to control very directly to our products, and still try to help the sector, mobilize other things that are needed by investing outside. So I think that I can at least say that from Grundfos side, we need to do some more exercise on how to collaborate. If it makes sense, like we are a pump manufacturing company, maybe it doesn't make any sense, right? So there are probably some areas where it does make sense, and there are some things that we are interested in investing that we don't want to be associated with because they talk to our future competition. They talk to our future, like products that we would want to come up in 10 years. And then we cannot just initiate a project research publicly with a company, but we can put money in research for that lane to be developed. So that doesn't mean that we are not investing, is more that something strategically doesn't make sense that we simply attach our names to.
That's a really
complicated,
great point.
right?
Yeah, that's super complicated. But that's a good point. At least I was not thinking about that point. So I think that's a great insight, Ines, and thank you for that. The time is not a lot, so we could talk more about this. But I would like also now to talk a little bit about your gender perspective and inclusion in the water sector, as the three of you are great women in the sector and super proud careers. I would like to ask you if you had any barriers, even if it was invisible barriers, let's call it like that, that you still think that women still face when they are trying to bridge a bit the academia and then the industry, but then also generally within the water sector, and what could be done better to try to close these barriers. I don't know who wants to start. I could see that all of you are super serious thinking about this question. So
No, I have a lot to say, but I think that
I know.
prefer them. So I prefer them to say something first.
I know I know. You, Meng, do you want to start maybe? You are muted. Yeah.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of barriers, but because we are at a public platform now, so I think I need to hold it a bit. So I think, well, to be honest, I think for female researchers, we are more honest. For example, if we have finished a research project, if it is a 80, then when we present it, we will present it as an 80. But if it's a male somehow, they are like more, I don't know, active or have they will like present it like 100%. So I think that's that's just my personal feelings. Like for female researchers, we should be able to stand up a bit and to be able to deliver our research topic or ourselves more confidently, like in a louder voice, and to have more gestures to be able to show ourselves more confidently. I think that's very important. It's not about what we have done. It's not about our research work. It's just how we pose ourselves and how we position ourselves in public speakings and in public conferences. So I think that's actually an invisible barrier to, especially to young female researchers, I guess.
That's a really great point. Beatrice, do you agree with?
Yes, and I think this is the toughest question for for me and the most complex one. I've always thought that no matter my gender, I will find the best solution for me as a job, because I will find the right place that can see my value, no matter my gender. And if my company or a university sort of limited me due to my gender, that would not be the right place to be. So giving this as a sort of background, I'm always been positive in this sense, and I've tried to see the positive aspects also on this topic. But some barriers happened also in my career, in the sense that for example, I have to admit that I felt a bit the pressure of starting a family, a pressure that my husband, or I think some other colleagues, male colleagues in my same department don't have. And so in this case, I have to say that I saw some discrepancies and differences, and this led me to think a lot, years. No, this is not the right time, but this is also due to the fact that in academia we have a lot of competition and a lot of years before becoming having a permanent position. So I am now 34 and I'm still not having a permanent position. So I think this stopped me for several years to think, okay, I can stop 5 months for my maternity leave, nothing will happen. And I was really afraid to have this decision. But I have to say that when I decided that this was more important for me in that moment, I wanted to prioritize having a family and again, sort of test my company. Let's see if my company will, so my university in this case, is the right environment. And I have to say that I was very positively surprised.
That's good.
I was really supported in this new adventure, and I felt really supported. The first thing I was thinking is I felt lucky, because unfortunately I think that it's still a barrier in many companies.
Definitely.
But I would suggest thinking about the environment where you are, and of course thinking that it's not you that have to change your mind, but it's or you change your environment,
The setup,
or
exactly.
try to be the one who is changing from inside the policies and
The mindset and so
the
on.
behavior in your company, so that the next generation will not be afraid of stepping in. And I have to say that to have a positive point of view on this topic, I had several role models coming from my mom. That was a great mom and a great leader in her company, and also from professors in my department, women professor in my department, that were examples for me to follow. So I think that also having role models and being able, for example, today to have a women talking as a panelist is a great opportunity.
Ines, as a
Ines, your
yeah,
time.
as a mom, I also know that. So, do you have anything that you like to add?
Yeah, I do. I do on this point because we are women, but of course, here is, we have all genders in the room, which is great. I think that this idea of where we fit and with what we surround ourselves with is super important, because the energy, without wanting to enter into quantum physics, the energy around us really shapes us, right? And so we need to be careful where we put ourselves. I have examples like as basic as being the only woman doing engineering in a team of men for product development, of being considering if I should go in heels or not, because that will make sound with my shoes, and and how is that going to be walking in the airport. And I had like painting my nails and having comments, oh, did you went to a party yesterday? And I'm like, yeah, I just felt like painting my nails. And also with the pregnancy, I decided that as a mom, I saw my mom letting go of her professional life to prioritize motherhood because she had to, and I saw how that made her less happy, less herself. And so a promise that I made to myself was that I wanted to be a happy mom, and that, because I love my job and I love what I do, actually meant that I wanted to come back to work earlier. Instead of taking 6 months of maternity leave, which is full paid by the company, I wanted to come back after 4 months through part-time, because I thought that's much more human, that I come up part-time rather than full-time suddenly from one day to the other after 6 months. And so, but it all depends. We don't know anything about the baby, and they ask you all these questions. They didn't even present me the opportunity to come back part-time because they expected that I was going to be 6 months. And sometimes, it's great that we have these opportunities. On the other hand, as mothers, what we need is flexibility. We will decide the best for both. We just need the flexibility to do it. Also, for example, I noticed that by becoming a mom, and you get maybe other support, financial support by government, then you will have less money to your pension, for example. So there's so many things to consider that the system hasn't thought about us. And just because you create a system, that doesn't mean that that's a system that works for working moms. And so there's still a lot of work to happen on that. And the last point that I wanted to make is that one of the good things, this will continue. So it's not only pregnancy. So it's not only us entering as females in the market. It's not only the pregnancy. It's not only having to fight the first kid and the second kid and when to do it in the growth of our career. It's also the menopause. It's also turning out to maybe losing your mother. Everything will come in such different types of waves to us, in a way that what we need is a workforce that understands that, colleagues, and that's why I think it's important that we have such good representation here in the audience, is that we are able to share this across with our colleagues beyond just women. And last point, one thing that I realize as a woman that I'm terrible at, I don't know if it's because of one, I just think that we're very honest at like what we can do and what we cannot. Salary negotiation. So I advised my husband, he just got promoted. I advised him throughout the entire process until the salary negotiation came. Then he came with a salary negotiation and said, I'm sorry, but on this point, I will not advise, because I will say that it would be fair that you would get this. But if your intuition is telling you that you need to shoot for the stars, then do that. And of course that somehow maybe played better for him. We will never know. But the thing is, it's just something that I realized that it's just not me. I cannot do that part. So I need to seek advice on how to go for salary negotiation. And that's, also part of the package somehow.
Thank you so much to the three of you for this great insight in terms of the gender perspective. And because the time is running out, I would just like for you to this will be our last question before we open the floor for our audience as like a closing question and a bit of an advice for PhD students, early career researchers, but also people that are in the industry. Which advice would you give to these people, that PhD students that are interested in moving to the industry, or then the other way around, people that are interested in moving and engage more with academia? So which advice, quite shortly, would you give to both of these worlds to engage more? Do you want to start maybe, Beatrice? And I will just ask you to be quite shortly.
Yes, I would just advise to stay critical, having a critical thinking, but also open-minded to really think that you can learn something different from the other.
That's perfect.
Close.
Yumeng?
So I actually have two advices. The first one is to keep up your passion, especially for PhD students, because doing experiments, doing research works will take like 1 or even 2 or even 3 years just to finish one project. So it's a very long process. So you need to keep up with your passion. And the second advice is quite practical, is that you need to work out, you need to go to the gym, you need to find another hobby to keep up your energy. I think that's a very important tip, especially for me. Ever since I started PhD, I started exercising, and I think it helps me a lot to keep up with the energy, to have more energy to be able to deal with so many difficult tasks.
Definitely, I agree. Ines, quite shortly, please.
Yes, thank you. And would be to collaborate with people who are willing to support you when things go well, but they would also be sponsors when things do not work. So find those.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I completely agree with these great advices. I'll just pass now to my colleague, Hayat, for some of the Q&A sessions that we'll still have a bit of time. Hayat, are you here?
Yep, I'm here. Hello. Hello, everyone. I actually met Beatrice last week, and I think I have met all the speakers. They are lovely people to work with. And I think one of the messages I would definitely want to point out, and this is a conversation I've had with all my travels working with IWA and going and meeting people like Ines, Beatrice, Yumeng. What I have learned, and I think this is a part of self-reflection from this call as well, that why is it that representation of women in STEM or in the water industry is still limited, despite being in the 21st century. And one of the biggest answers I would say is our education system. The very basis of how our society's fabric is set up has always been more patriarchal. And I think it's becoming very important that we as young water professionals, well, I'm not a young water professional anymore, but for all of you all, I think it's equally important that senior professionals and professionals work together and try to create an environment where we make our younger generation understand the value of gender equality and the fact that women are equal to men in any aspect. I think this is a conversation. This is a hard conversation, but this is the truth we have to accept. That what has been happening for centuries has to change now, and I hope everyone will be in agreement with that. With this, we have just about 10 minutes left. We can take one question from the audience. If you could raise your hand, I can call out your name and you can ask your question to the speakers. Anyone? Good job. No one has questions for you, so I think we can move on. And I would recommend all audience that if you have any questions for our speakers or panelists for today, you're more than welcome to connect with them on LinkedIn or IWA Connect Plus. That is our platform available to meet with these members as well. On that note, we will quickly do the closing. Isabella, could I get the next slides, please, for this presentation? Isabella? I think we had one slide. I guess maybe. Well, I mean, I can speak about it. I think the biggest thing is, of course, we are looking at the IWA World Water Congress this year happening in Glasgow. It is the premium global event hosted by IWA, where water from all over from domains in the industry together. This is happening in Glasgow this year from October 4th. So registrations open, and you are going to have an opportunity to, of course, meet people like our panelists who are going to be present, but also get a chance to see broadly what are some of the challenges the water industry is currently facing and how you can be a part of it and contribute towards solving these challenges. Also, apart from that, you are more than welcome to. There are a lot of announcements in terms of what IWA has been active with for young water professionals. We have our steering committee elections. If you want to be representing all the country chapters and all of the young water professionals from all over the world who are members of IWA and be the voice for them to the IWA board, we have the steering committee elections going on right now. Please vote and select your candidates so they can help be voice for your needs to the IWA board. We also have a very important announcement. Francesca and I have been working along with IWA on this, and this is for the IWA mentorship program. So you have an opportunity to apply for it till the end of the month, where you will get an opportunity to work with mentors from all over the world, from different domains of the water industry, and get an experience to see how you can fast track your career with mentorship. So this is a program meant exclusively for young water professionals, and we would highly recommend all of you to be a part of the IWA YWP Connect Plus platform, where you can get a chance to learn more about this and speak to us. So me and Francesca will be more than happy to assist you with any questions you have. This is something which was in works for the past 2 years, and we are going to have one-on-one individual mentorship. So you will get an opportunity to meet with 5-6 different kind of mentors over the course of a year, and this will help you increase your perspective and knowledge in the water industry. Lastly, some other events which we are having is going to be the IWA YWP European Conference, which is happening in Milan. Beatrice is the chair, I believe, of the conference. Yes, so the website link is posted. It is actually happening in the next 2 weeks' time from, less than 2 weeks' time, June 14 to 17. So if you're in Europe and can quickly make it to the conference, please do attend. You will get a chance to meet Francesca as well. With this, I think we have made all the quick announcements, and I'm pretty sure after this call, you will also be getting a quick survey. So please do take that, and please let us know what other kind of events you would like to keep. We have a few more of these, lectures planned up for you guys, and you guys are the voice. We are really doing it based on what you guys have asked for, and we plan to continue to do that as well. So please do check out all the events I told you about, especially the mentorship program. And please feel free to connect with myself, Isabella, Francesca, all the panelists for today. And hope you guys have a rest good of the week and the weekend. With this, we can conclude the call. Thank you again, everyone. We are here for the next 5 minutes if you have any further questions. Thank you.